The FCRA Amendment 2026 has once again become a major issue across our country. You remember that this 2026 Amendment Bill was introduced in Parliament on 25th March 2026 but was not taken further. This happened because the members of the opposition raised their voices and opposed that bill, as also a large number of people and members of civil society groups had voiced concern, raised objections, and were agitating. At the same time, don't forget, Kerala elections were around the corner, and they were to be held on 9th April 2026. See, 25th March 2026 and elections on 9th April 2026. So I believe politically it was not pushed during that session because they would want to ensure no drubbing at the Kerala elections, which finally they did get a drubbing. So it was kept in cold storage, typical of the BJP. Now, how is this bill draconian? And as I always say, this is an official loot. You remember that in Goa, the Goa government got a bill passed in the Goa Legislative Assembly called the Goa Estates Forfeiture and Bono Vacancia Bill 2024, which has now become an act. And I had opposed it. We all in the opposition opposed that bill, and I had called it an official land grab. By that enactment, you lose your properties and then you have to fight back to get it. This FCRA Bill 2026 is more draconian and a new method by which the government wants to grab your properties and even jail people. Firstly, Section 14 is sought to be amended by adding Section 14B. And 14B, I will read it. 14B(1), the certificate shall be deemed to have ceased on the expiry of its period of validity if A, the application for renewal has not been made under subsection 2 of Section 16, B, the application for renewal has been made but refused by the central government under second proviso to subsection 3 of Section 16, or C, the certificate is not renewed before its expiry. Now subsection 2, no person whose certificate has ceased to exist shall either receive or utilize a foreign contribution unless the certificate is renewed. What does this mean? Clause A, certificate ceases when not applied for renewal. This is clearly the fault of the license holder. It may be the choice also of the license holder. Second, clause B, certificate ceases when refused. Of course, you can file an appeal against that. Third, clause C, certificate is not renewed before its expiry. Do you understand what it is? That means you apply on time but not renewed before expiry. Renewal is not in the hands of the applicant. Renewal has to be done by the central government. So if your application is not decided before the date of expiry and renewed and kept pending, you get stuck and this clause kicks in. Now subsection 2, which I read, I'll read it again. No person whose certificate has ceased to exist shall receive or utilize the foreign contribution unless the certificate is renewed. The consequence is what? In all these cases, it is provided in subsection 2 that prohibits the person whose certificate has ceased to exist to receive or utilize foreign contribution received. Means you are frozen. Also, Chapter 3A has been introduced in this 2026 bill, and the relevant provisions are there, which is vesting of foreign contribution and assets in designated authority. 16A(1), it says like this: the foreign contribution and assets created out of foreign contribution of any person, A, whose certificate has been cancelled under Section 14, or B, who has surrendered the certificate under Section 14A, or C, whose certificate has ceased under Section 14B or any rules made under this Act, shall from the date of such cancellation, surrender or cessation vest provisionally in the designated authority in such manner as may be prescribed. So now you saw that if your certificate ceases because it is not renewed, you can't receive foreign exchange contribution, and here your property is also provisionally vested in the authority. And now what is worse? Subsection 2. An asset shall vest wholly in the designated authority, whether created or acquired, partly from foreign contribution and partly from other sources. So now, by giving this chapter 3A, it is so much powers which is vested in the central government to take away your property, even as I mentioned section 14B, which I had read earlier, vesting it in the designated authority. So even after you wind up, you cannot sell that asset, but the foreign contribution received by such person and the assets created out of the foreign contribution shall stand permanently in the designated authority. Therefore, if you brought in foreign capital under the FCRA route and you do not desire to continue any foreign contribution and therefore you do not want to continue registration and you surrender the certificate, you get up losing and getting stuck with all your property gone. As I pointed out, section 16A2 is even more draconian, which says that an asset shall vest in the designated authority, whether created or acquired, partly from foreign contribution or partly from other sources. Now, what is the meaning of this? I'm just giving you one small example. Think of a hospital you build. When you start building a hospital, you collect local funds. Then you believe that there are people who are giving you donations. When you build with donations, mixture of local funds and foreign contribution, you expand your hospital. You put in money which you also get from foreign donors. Anywhere you raise foreign this thing, and people generously come forward to give you money. If it goes, the meaning of this section is from any other source means whether you got it locally, you got from anywhere, your entire asset goes. And in any way, you can't cut it like a cake and say, okay, you take this part, the administration part, the wings I will keep. This is not possible. Then we have something known as the penal provisions. New section 39 is being introduced, which will bring in people who have long ceased to work for the establishment and may have quit or retired back for prosecution even for negligence. Now, as per law, general law, negligence per se is not an offence except in case of death or injury to a person caused by negligent act. Section 304A IPC, which we know that caused by rash and negligent act, and now which is section 106 of the BNX Act, and section 92 of the Factories Act 1948 provide for cases of prosecution and punishment for negligence. These are statutorily provided. Now, it is not such negligence which is an oversight which does no harm to any individual which is identified as an offence in all these cases. So now what would happen is, suppose you as a senior approve something without looking at the fine details, some small slip here and there, you also will be brought in. Now, what is the present danger with the new bill? The further danger is that every small breach of FCRA Act did not deprive the registration of a property or loss of a property, but today if your certificate is not renewed by the central government by refusal or just not renewed in time before expiry, the registration will cease under 14B and the property will vest with the designated authority, whether acquired out of foreign funds, partly or fully, or even property not acquired of these foreign funds. Secondly, the provision for excluding the property from the vesting is similar to Goa Estates Forfeiture and Bono Vacancia Act 2024, which first puts you out of the property and you have to fight to get inside back in your own property. Now, any infraction of FCRA Act will not allow rectifications but will result in losing the property by using provisions of this amendment bill and landing you in jail. And don't forget, action can be initiated only after approval by the central government, which means the central government can pick and choose whom and when to prosecute or persecute and or to forgive or ignore. Because these are the words which I will interpret. Section 43 of the Principal Act shall be numbered as subsection 1 thereof. And after subsection 1 as so numbered, the following subsection shall be inserted. Namely, no investigation shall be initiated for any offence punishable under this Act except with the prior approval of the central government. Therefore, now for whom and how, in what cases the government will give approval, will not give approval, it will be a pure pick and choose. Now, whom does this bill affect? This bill is clearly aimed and will target citizens of India, citizens of India outside India, NGOs, charitable organizations and institutions, private hospitals, private charitable hospitals, private old age homes, homes for the poor and the destitute, the church, our churches. Many people give donations to the church, whether small amount or large amounts. Many people from abroad send donations to the churches. They will be affected. Other religious organizations, minorities or otherwise, missionaries like Sisters of Charity or Mother Teresa, NGOs, those that are not the government's bidding or followers, and the government feels they should not do any social service or is a threat to their party or ideology, they will be targeted. Other social organizations, the news channels, foreign and international, and including locals. Even you would know that BBC is now registered as a company here, and those who do not follow the line of the government, they will 100% be targeted. Now, I am always saying that this bill is reminiscent of Hitler's Nazi style. And I will explain very briefly how Hitler did it. First, remember one thing. When there is a challenge to this law, the government will always justify by saying it is in public interest because it seeks to eliminate the flow of black money. You know what happened in that Notbandi thing. They used the same justification, but I don't think any black money came in. And instead, even the white money, 100% never came back for change. Now, as far as Hitler's legislations, see how it happened. First, he passed the Enabling Act, which allowed him to make laws to bypass parliament. Then came Nuremberg laws, which strips Jews of their citizenships. Then came the Reich citizenship law, which defined who's a citizen, and Jews were excluded. They were not even given citizenship. So Hitler changed laws, and the courts began upholding the action of the government, Hitler's government, on the basis of the changed laws. Does it sound different here? Hitler did not tolerate dissent, and anyone who spoke against Hitler was arrested or beaten up by his SA gangs. The SA is also, actually it's a short form of Sturmabteilung, which was the Nazi party's paramilitary wing known as the Brown Shirts, which used violence and intimidation to help Adolf Hitler rise to power. Did you not see the recent Jantar Mantar process of the Gen Z, of people, of the bucks going to people's houses, beating up people and speaking against Modi or their BJP leaders? Did you not see them coming offensively to attack the poor students, the children who were there? In Hitler's time, they had brown shirts. Here they have brown pants. BJP cannot tolerate dissent. If you dare speak up against the government, you will be booked and arrested for sedition, or booked and arrested for attempt to create hatred among communities. Do you remember in Nazi Germany, the slogan was, if you are with Hitler, you are with Germany. If you are against Hitler, you are against Germany. Is this not sounding very similar in India? This narrative is clear. When people were protesting against the government because of this NEET failure, the Gen Z protest at Jantar Mantar, what was going on? The poor children were being dumped as anti-national, Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, or even Chinese. Come on, there had to be a limit to all these things. Now this amendment in simple words means, if you are with BJP and Modi, all your crimes are overlooked or washed away. If you are not with BJP and Modi, you are against the nation and you will be jailed and your property will be confiscated. This is how the BJP wants to finish off our democracy. As I mentioned, they will say that they want to flush out the black money. All this is a smoke screen. We need to oppose such draconic laws which are finishing off citizens and voice of dissent. The bill is unconstitutional for minorities as it will affect the fundamental rights guaranteed under Articles 29 and 30 of the Constitution. If we remain silent, our nation will no longer be a great nation which our founding fathers dreamt of and for which our freedom fighters fought for our nation's independence. We are going back into time, into the bad Nazi period. Dictatorship is on the rise. Hitler is emerging again. Emergency is being imposed by official route. God save our country. God save Mother India.